Hello guys, welcome to our channel again. This is our ninth video on HTML series. So in previous video, we discussed briefly about different kinds of elements in HTML and the difference in div and span. In this video, we will discuss all about forms in HTML. Okay, now let's talk about forms. Basically, forms are used to collect information from the user. Sometimes contact forms, sometimes signing in forms, login in forms. Okay, these things are very useful and this is very important section. Alright. Okay, now the tag is form tag. We have the tag called form tag straight away. And inside of this form tag, we can collect data from the user. Now there are some attributes very important you have to know about forms. Okay, the first one is action. What is action attribute does? Action attribute point to a web page that will load after the user submits the form. Okay, so after filling the form and user press button, let's say, okay, and then action attribute will take that information to a certain web page. Okay, I will type here. What will this do is, after the user fill the form, it will take to this website. Okay, usually form is submitted to a web page, so always you may always need action. All right, the next important attribute is method. There are two kinds of values for method. First one is get. All right, when you use get, this data in the form will be visible on the page. Okay, so if you are not using passwords, you are using some common informations like, let's say, name, right? Not sensitive data, just name, age, maybe you can use get. But if you are using sensitive informations like passwords, phone numbers, you have to use pause, because when you use pause, those information will not be visible on the web page. Okay, most likely when we fill out forms, there are sensitive informations, so the post is the better one to use. Actually, it is the most likely we going to use of the most of the time. Okay, now let's just forget about these things. Let's see how we create a form using tags. All right, the first tag I'm going to talk is input tag. Now input tag takes information from the user. Now after the input tag, you have to specify the attribute type. Okay, the type attribute is very important when you are using input. There are several types. Okay, let's say first type I'm going to talk about is text. And if I close this and if I save this, go to the browser and reload, you can see here you can type in this box name. Let's say you can type name, anything. All right, now this type decides what is the input. Just like this text, there is also the type called password. What will it do? Now it is the same box, but if I type here, see, it doesn't show what you are typing. So this is useful when you are using passwords. So if anyone is looking at the web page, he or she can't see what he is typing. Okay, so after this text tag, there's another important attribute called name. I will give it this username. There are several attributes for input, right? You can check that in let's say W3 schools websites like that, or in the documentation. Now what does this name do? It gives the name to this input. Now it is useful when you are using JavaScript, and also in the future when you are getting this information. Okay, now if I type here something, the user types his name, let's say, and I need to take his name. In that kind of situation, we use this attribute. So the name is very important. we can use username. Okay, let's say get username. Okay, we type get username and we get his name. Alright, so the name is the attribute that we give to this input type, this input. Okay, and we can use this name in future to get that information. Now I'm going to put another input here, and the type is password, and name also password. It doesn't matter, name is anything you want, you can put any name. And if I need to break this, you can break tag here. Okay, now if I put 2 breaks, we have this little bit more good. Okay, I will break this here too. Okay, next type I'm going to talk is radio type. Now if I put the input type to radio, it allows me to choose only one between number of choices. Okay, now radio type is commonly used for selecting the gender of the person. So I'm going to put the name to gender. But when you are using radio type, you have to use it multiple times. Therefore, you have to give each one a value, a different value actually. And I'm going to give it this male. And without just closing it, I'm going to give it some text called, let's say, male. And then I'm going to close it. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and paste it here, and just change the value to female, and here also female. Now these two are the quite same because name is same. Okay, but it has different values, male or female. And if I save this and go to the browser, now you can see there are two, but if you select one, the other one deselect by default. Okay, see, you can only choose one. Now I am going to change the input type to checkbox. Now it allows the user to select more than one option. Okay, now when I'm using radio button, the person can choose only one option. Okay, but when you are using checkbox, you can choose multiple options. Type checkbox and then you have to give the name. Let's say courses, and I'm going to give this value HTML and close this, and then I'm going to put the text of HTML. Now if you are using more courses and you can't change the name, but you can change the value, let's say CSS. Okay, now this is the text, this is the value. Why the name is same? Because you are taking this from a form. If the person has one or two more values, we can check them by the name of the value, but the name should be the same. And if I do more, and let's say JS, and I'm going to say JavaScript. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to save this and open the browser, and I have HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You can choose more, or you can choose none, or you can choose one. It's your choice. Okay, that is the use of checkbox. Final thing I'm going to talk about forms is input type submit. Now it gives a button. Okay, you can give a value or a name. Okay, let's say submit, it doesn't matter. Okay, and I'm going to close it. Okay, now I'm going to save this, and now you can see here's a button. Now what does this button do is, inside the form you have this submit button. So after you finish the taking information from the user, you can put a submit button, and when the user hits submit, you can get the information that he put on the web page. I'm going to wrap it up by a small example. So this is a example form I created. I have this heading tells fill this form, and then have input types, first name, last name, and type of text. Okay, and on the type of radio I have the gender, male, female, and then type of checkbox I have few courses I have listed, and then I have the password and the input type password, and finally I have the submit button. And if I save this and go to the browser, reload. Okay, now we have this form. It's a little bit ugly, but I didn't put any CSS or any style, just to understand this form. Okay, now here in this text box you have to put your first name and then last name, and then you have to check this one of this box, right? Alright, it can choose only one at a time, and you can choose multiple if you have to. Okay, and then you have to put a password, let's say, and you can see it just types as a password, and then you can click the submit button, and then the information will be go to the server. And to do that, you can put action here and put the link, and then method of post. Right, I discussed these things. So this is a complete form now, right? So that is all about forms in HTML. Okay, so that is it for this video. See you in the next one.